Memorial Day originated after the American Civil War as a way to honor Union soldiers who had died in battle. While its exact origin is debated, one of the earliest recorded Memorial Day like observations was held by formerly enslaved black Americans in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm going to reread that. Memorial Day originated after the American Civil War as a way to honor Union soldiers who had died in battle. While its exact origin is debated, one of the earliest recorded Memorial Day like observances was held by formerly enslaved black Americans in Charleston, South Carolina on May 1st, 1865. Here's a brief breakdown. After the Civil War, freedmen in Charleston reburied Union soldiers who had died in a Confederate prison camp. They had a memorial ceremony that included songs, prayers, a parade of 10,000 people, including black school children, and the decoration of graves. Many historians consider the first true Memorial Day, though it was not yet officially named that. In 1868, General John A. Logan, a leader of a Union veterans group, proclaimed May 30th as Decoration Day, a day to decorate the graves of the war dead with flowers. It became widely recognized across the North, but the South commemorated its war dead on different days for decades. After World War One, the holiday expanded to honor all Americans who died in military service, not just Civil War soldiers, not just Civil War soldiers. In 1971, Memorial Day became a federal holiday observed on the last Monday of May. So while many credit General Logan with formalizing the holiday, its roots are deeply tied to the actions of freed Black Americans, whose powerful expression of honor and remembrance laid the groundwork for what will become Memorial Day. So, welcome back to another episode of We Are Not Okay. And, this is the podcast where we're going to make you think and elevate you and have some fun with you as well. My co host Nasir will be joining us in a second, but just to bring you all in today, we are happy to talk about Memorial Day and honoring our warriors and our soldiers. And with that, I'm going to bring in my co host Nasir. Hotep, brother.
Hotep, Sinette, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
As
I'm
always,
excited
same.
for today's discussion.
Yes, yes. So, what do you have for the good people today? Because we know you cooked up something very informative for all of us to hear.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where, when we say Happy Mother's Day or Happy Father's Day, it's Mother's Day every day,
Right.
right? And in this same fashion, uh, for our warriors, you know, we have to remember our warriors every day.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, so today's topic is really Memorial Day and remembering. That's the important part, right? It's remembering our warriors and those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Amen.
And so you asked me, what do I have cooked up?
Hmm.
I
Well,
have a
wait,
little
wait.
bit.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Before you get into that, you said something just a little second ago.
Mhm.
So, do we say Happy Memorial Day? I said it to somebody, and it just felt weird.
Well, I think given the psychological trauma that we still endure as it relates to being separated from our indigenous homeland and then brought to the shores of North America, the Caribbean, South America, etc. Right? Um, Sometimes when we see what happens in our country,
Hmm.
it doesn't feel like it applies to us, or sometimes we feel that our fallen have not been adequately recognized
Mm-mm. Nope.
or made to be uh, to be idolized with other American heroes, and so we're giving our voice to them in case that we don't know about them, we don't know about the sacrifice that they've made for us.
Nope. We don't.
Yeah, so yes, it could feel a little bit awkward sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I grew up in Eatontown, New Jersey, outside of Neptune, but in Eatontown, it's located, where Fort Monmouth used to be,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And Fort Monmouth was a military base, and so I grew up basically in a military town, and I didn't really support the military growing up.
Mm.
And as I grew up and became wise, I understand the need for having defense, right? And I'll just say defense of our people,
Yeah.
right? And how it applies. And I also recognize that there are, um, African soldiers and just people in general who defended the country,
Yeah.
and some of them had to pay the ultimate sacrifice for a place where they weren't treated equal and fair, right? And so sometimes things change, and then sometimes things stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that I didn't want to bring up some of these dirty topics, but you kind of brought it, to the forefront.
We have to. We have to.
As we speak, the current president of the United States
Mm-hmm.
is removing all the likenesses of African leaders and soldiers in the U.S. military. And what's even worse is the Department of the Interior, which is responsible for all of our national parks and so forth, are resurrecting Confederate likenesses and statues of the Confederate soldiers and leaders who basically wanted to keep us in bondage and enslaved.
Well,
So
you know he wasn't the first to do this. Rockefeller did this before he did.
yeah, and this is where we share, right?
It's just repeating itself.
Yeah, it's a cycle. So it goes back to the question that you asked: do I feel like there's some weirdness about it? Yeah, there is.
It is. It is weird.
Yeah, it's a lot of double standards and things of that nature, but we're going to honor those who've done what was needed. After all, people say, "Well, should we even celebrate?" Right?
Yeah, we should.
Memorial Day.
Especially we know once we know the origin of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I kind of got into what I wanted to say anyway.
Hmm.
But we wanted to talk about where did it start, right? What is Memorial Day's origin, and should we celebrate it? Well, we should celebrate it because we built this country, right?
Ten
This
toes
country
down.
was built on free labor of African people, and to the extent that the African people who went into battle to preserve and defend the country that had enslaved them, right? Because once it was built, it's ours. It's our homeland. We have our blood, sweat, and in
Yeah.
the earth of this country. And so, if our ancestors and family members who we will honor, throughout the show and at the end of the show, um, have paid that ultimate sacrifice, then we should honor them. And even if
Absolutely.
those who didn't, we have uncles and aunts and who served in Vietnam
Hmm.
and Korean War, right? And they have mental trauma
A
as a
lot of
result,
them do. A lot of them do.
right? So we have to honor them, right?
Hmm.
And let them know that we do appreciate, um, them serving and trying to defend the country that we had built.
I always, whenever I see fatigues, I always say thank you for serving. And I've had, I know one girl, she was a client of mine. She took it off all the time because she hated when people said it to her. But I'm like, honey, I'm grateful because you look at these war movies and they don't come close to what these people been through. And I am grateful that they serve. And we have to definitely have to acknowledge them and appreciate them and let them know they are appreciated. Because how many of us are going over there to do what they do?
Yeah,
I'm not.
I wasn't, and
Mm-mm.
I'm not now. But
No,
for those who do, we have to appreciate the sacrifice that they.
absolutely. That's a big sacrifice.
So sis, a couple things, you know, um, we're going to share a video, especially those who are going to really enjoy the video on the when we edit the footage and play it back. But those who are joining live are not going to be able to see it, so we'll kind of move past that.
Those who are joining live on TikTok and Instagram are, if you are in our live studio audience, then you'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Then the other thing is, um, as we go through this, we want to, speak the name. Me and my brother's here from Atlanta. Hey Jay, it's good to see you and the family. You were able to reconnect with my brother yesterday.
I'm like, that would take up the whole. Now, well, since you brought it here, we have to talk about it now. We have to. We have to.
I
So,
didn't even know you knew my brother.
guys, it was the craziest thing. Now, I've known Nas. I've known Nas. And the craziest thing, we was just sitting there having a conversation about his brother who was here visiting. And somehow he said, I think he was talking about his mom being your walking partner
Yeah,
or whatever. And you said he said her whole name. And I said, "Is Jason your brother?" And it just went from there. And it was like, what?
yeah,
It was so crazy. Come to find out, Jason is somebody that I went to the babysitter with 40 plus years ago, 45 years ago, at least 45 years ago. I went with him to the babysitter, and I I haven't seen Jason probably in close to 40 years. I remember his mother very well. And at first, Nas was like looking like, well, this can't be. Then I started running down stuff that only family would know.
yeah,
He had a body cast on. We used to pull him around in
yeah.
the in a red wagon. His mother's a teacher.
He
Like,
fell off the swing and broke his femur.
yep.
Yeah.
And
And you
and
said
his
his mom used to bring you books. His
yep,
mom
his
was
mom used to bring me books because she was a teacher and I was young. She wanted me to be ahead of the game. She wanted me to be ahead of the game, so she bought me books. And he was my little baby. Like, he was my little baby. And I just can't believe that now he is a big guy. He's a
big guy. Yeah.
ER doctor. He's married. He has children, and it's crazy. It's like 40 years later, and that was such an amazing time. Miss Gordon was like, "You made my year, not my day, my year." Because how crazy is that to happen? The world is so small, so small.
So
That
so
was a great moment.
let's do this, right? I just want to just talk about some of the things around, the Memorial Day, right?
Hmm.
And so when we think about the definition of memorial, because we never really reflect on it, right? But a memorial is like an object or a structure
Right.
or a place to commemorate someone or something. And it's usually associated with the honor of a deceased person, right? It can
Hmm.
be through tragedy or, commemorate some type of historical event and things like that.
Right.
And in terms of, its purpose is what we're doing now. It's remembrance and commemoration, right? And so it serves as a way to remember and honor someone's life, someone's achievements. We don't want to leave out these leaders who've served
Absolutely
this
not.
country and they led to some significant events. And so in the video, we're going to really hone in on some of those individuals and we'll see why they need to be honored, right? And the other thing we kind of spoke on it a little bit is grief and healing, right? Grief
Absolutely.
for those who've actually lost loved ones, and we need healing, healing for the person who fought and is still with us, and also healing for the family, for those who are the support structure around them.
Yeah. In the healing, this all goes back to I'm not sure if I spoke to you about this, but the book I was reading, it didn't start with you. A lot of trauma can start right here with, this situation and trickle down. So just don't think present healing. We have to heal from our generational situations as well.
And then we're to get into some educational points. We'll share some of the lingo around the language, around remembrance and commemoration of the deceased, but also education and legacy, right?
Hmm.
Memorials can educate future generations about the individual or the event being commemorated, right?
Right.
So let's do this, right? I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, let me just get it set up over here. I'm gonna share my screen. We're just gonna talk about a couple words, and then we'll come back and honor our family members. All
Okay.
right, and then we'll close out. Okay, so here we go. So let's see. And I know you love this stuff, right? Yeah.
I love a good little educational video.
Okay. Can you see that? Okay.
I thought we was gonna see the video. No.
No, no, we're gonna
Oh.
do that. We're gonna do that for the YouTube family, as we kind of come back.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so here we go. So here's a word, sach, right? Sach, a lot of times we pour libation, and today it's relevant because when someone has fallen, a lot of times the homies will get together, people get together, and they pour out some liquor, they pour out some beer, right? Well, people have no idea where they get that from because it's been passed down from generation to generation, but it's a African custom, right? It's only practiced in Africa, right? And it's something that we do, to remember our dead or deceased. But here you see the woman, right? And you can even see it in the Medu Neter, right? You can see the pouring out of the liquid or the water, right? And that's one of the ways that we honor and remember our fallen or deceased.
Yes.
So here's another fun one, right? So oops, this is hot, right? You can say hat, right? If it helps you to remember that. But the hot is a tomb
Right.
or a place of burial, right? A lot of times, at least for the pharaohs or the Nesubiti or the kings, they would be buried in these elaborate tombs called mir. We call them pyramids today. Pier, uh, pier, right? Pyramid, right? So the word mir still exists within the African word mir, pyramid,
Okay.
right? And then we have, let's see, when we look at the body,
Mm-hmm.
right? The body is the sahu, right? The sahu or the sah, and it's the resting of the the shell of the cot or the body or the physical flesh. This is what's left behind, and a lot of times, in many cultures and in African cultures, even in the West Coast today, the body is enshrined, right?
Mm-hmm.
Becomes a shrine itself. You go to Ghana and in Nigeria, then they have these houses, where this is the place where you go to remember the ancestor or the ancestors, right? Even in China, right? You look at the karate movies and the Oriental movies, right? And you can see they bring in the incense and they have the pictures of their ancestors
I never really
on
paid
the
attention
wall.
to that.
What's that?
I never really paid attention. I never paid attention
Yeah,
to that.
go pay attention. So, go and watch like Ip Man or something, one of the more recent ones. And you always see, they have a shrine in their homes, right? We'll do something on shrines later,
I was gonna
right?
say yeah, because I mean,
Yeah,
we
but
do that. We do that.
we still, as African people, we have shrines, and the shrine is a memorial. It is a place where the body is kept, right? And we remember the ancestor,
Right.
all right? And then I don't know, somebody working on you over there, but
Me.
here we go.
Mhm.
um, here's another one. This is Neb Unk, right? The Neb Unk is, they call it the sarcophagus. Here, you see
Sarcophagus.
the tomb, right, of the sarcophagus,
Hmm.
right? And here in the Medu Neter, this is the word Neb or Lord or Master, the Master of life, right? The Master or Lord of life, the one who's in charge of life. But this is what we would today call, like a coffin, right? And
Okay.
and these burial practices originated in the Nile Valley. You know, from what we can tell, it originated in terms of protecting the body in something
Mm.
encased. It originated in ancient Kemet, what we call Egypt today.
Wow.
And then I got probably two more here, right?
Hmm.
Here we have the Tekken, and they refer to it as the obelisk, right? But the African word is Tekken, right? And you see this in Washington D.C. What do they call it? The Washington
Monument.
Monument, and
Oh my gosh.
it is the erect phallus or penis, which is a representation of life, right? In renewal, but this is a symbol of
Hmm.
resurrection, right? It's got nothing to do with sex, right? It's a
Right.
resurrection memorial, and go to all of the graves, right?
Hmm.
You see this symbol in so many grave sites, in so many cemeteries, but generally it's not African people who have these erected.
Hmm.
So this is where you have culture vultures who emulate and steal our culture, right? But the Tekken is our symbol,
Right.
and it's our symbol of resurrection.
Hmm.
So in America, the Tekken in Washington D.C. is a resurrection, or the Egypt of the West. It's
Wow.
where it's where the founders of this country tried to emulate and resurrect the success of something that they seen in the East, and he wanted to bring it to America. And it's the foundation of this country. So this is one of our memorials, and then I'll leave you with the most relevant one, right? This is the aha. Sometimes we say we have an aha moment, right? Well, that's an African word for warrior, right? I don't even like to say soldier. I like to say warrior. And we have military warriors, and now we have spiritual warriors,
Hmm.
right? And Mfudishi says we have Mfudishi Jehudimas, right? One of our elders and scholars.
You can say these words so well.
I've been doing it for a long time, right? Is this is our warrior, and these are terms. We're going to memorialize it, but we're going to put it on video and allow the family to consume these words and get used to them and
Mm.
look at these things, because you may see them in museums or in
Books.
national um, uh, shrines and things of that nature, right? But these are symbols of our heritage in our ancestry.
Yes, I love that.
So now let's do something. I'm gonna stop sharing, right? You remember one time we did the libation, and I said, "Do you have something?
Yes.
You got something today?"
I have some water, but
Oh,
I don't have
perfect,
anything.
perfect, perfect. And I got a plant behind me, right? So I'm gonna kind of slide to the side, and I'm gonna, while you're thinking of your ancestors and family members, I'm going to call the name of of my family members who've served in the military
Hmm.
and or who still serve. And so as I speak their name, right, we give life to them when we speak their name.
Yes.
And so I'm going to say the name and then we just say Ashe, right?
Ashe.
Okay. So I'm going to say Grandpa John Beverett,
Ashe.
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 Uncle Billy Brown, Ashe.
Ashe.
Uncle Tyrone Brown, Ashe.
Ashe.
My great uncle, this is my grandmother, my living great grandmother, right? My living grandmother, Elver Beverett, her brother, Wesley, Ashe.
Ashe.
Right? And then we have my cousin's husband, who's in the
Oh,
Navy also, like Uncle Wes, is we're gonna say Jaura Ashe. Okay. Now it's your turn. You're on mute. You're okay. All right. So while we get ourselves, situated, we will go ahead and
my house is a fun house, so I have to put it on mute because
hey, hotep, hotep. It's a family thing, right?
I'm just like,
We love them
I'll
anyway.
tape it.
We
That's not what's up for debate.
we love them. We love 'em.
Absolutely love them, but it's just like so. I don't have anything to pour it into, so I'm just gonna take a sip.
Yeah, take a sip. Well,
So,
do you have a cup around you or something?
oh, you know what? Actually, I do have a cup right
Yeah,
there.
go get you a cup, sis.
Right here. Yep.
I would tell you to pour it on the floor, but you're gonna have to clean it up after,
I'll
you
do
know.
that, yeah, I'm gonna definitely. Mm-mm. All right. So the first name I'm going to say absolutely is my father, George Ernest Bartee Sr.
Ashe.
And then I have my grandfather, Willie James Snell.
Ashe.
Ashe. And his brothers, Uncle EC and the other brother,
Ashe.
Ashe. I feel bad. Um, yeah. Oh no, my Uncle Charles, my Uncle Charles.
Uncle Charles, Ashe.
How can I forget my Uncle Ronnie?
Uncle Ronnie, Ashe.
Ashe. Miss Jackie Gilliam.
Ashe.
Ashe. I'm thinking of brother Johnny Maxey.
Ashe. You got a lot of people in the military. Wow.
Well, yeah, these are all of the names that uh well, my parents are buried in a military cemetery. So I'm like I've kind of designated myself as the person who checks in on everybody's family. So Memorial Day, I go down there whenever I go. I always go see my parents, my grandparents, and my Uncle Ronnie. But Memorial Day, I go see everybody. So I speak everybody's name. And those,
Ashe.
let's see, yeah, Ashe. Hmm.
All right. Well, thank you for this wonderful show and podcast this evening. Honoring those who've paid the ultimate price, right, and those who have defended us in this country.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna we're light tonight. We're only at 30 minutes. So I mean,
Hey, that's okay.
I was gonna say, who says we have to stay an hour? We got our
But
question.
when we have the added footage and everything, it's going to
Yeah,
be longer than this.
this is
So,
this is absolutely true. We have to add the footage. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us. Please stay tuned. Are we gonna go back to um our episode next week where we were talking about? Yes, that's such a great topic when we're talking about symbolism and religion. So
mm,
please make sure you join us next week at 7, same place, same time. And we're going to go back and revisit that topic. So until then, please make sure you're going to go ahead and buy that viral body
there
butter.
you go. I was going to bring it up because guess what? Family, I got me some body butter, right?
Did you use yours that I gave you?
I have. My little cousin, she wants to take some of the body butter. I mean, my niece, Jason's daughter. She wants some of that body butter too.
She can have some. I got some. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gave her the real one though. The one I gave you, I had a and this is for people to know. Like a lot of times, when people smell fragrance in cosmetics is because raw ingredients stink, and that that butter I got, that African butter, that coconut butter. Oh my God, it had to. My brother was like, "Is it bad?" I'm like, "No."
It's alive.
He said, "Is it what is it
It's
smells?"
alive.
Because he used to smell the cocoa butter, and I was like, I just order all these butters just to play with them. I was like, this one, I'll never order that one again. Not that. Ooh, it was bad, but I'm happy you liked it. I said that I was like, we don't like it, but trust me, somebody else. Well, you're not the only person who liked it, but that smell was a little rough.
Mommy, we got you some body butter coming. I'm putting it in the mail.
Yeah, hers smells great.
Key
Hers is
State
the
dropped
original
off
for
a whole bunch of them for me, and I'm getting them in the mail to you, to
me.
Alphanetta, Jennifer. You got yours coming, sweetie. You got a lot of things. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Dua,
Okay. Keeping them
Dua.
cool. All right, Dua, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. You have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.